everyone. Welcome back. We are here on GMID, a very special edition on Hospitality Today Live. Thank you again for joining us today. Now we have another great guest for you. Her name is Jaime Nolan. She is the CEO, president of National Speakers Association and a leadership consultant for associations and small businesses on their strategic planning, board governance, team development, leadership training, and culture. Jaime has served on several boards already, along with being president of the AMC Institute. As a certified association executive, she is a member of the American Society of Association Executives, the Florida Society of Association Executives Source, the Society for Industrial Organizational Psychology, and Associations North. Jaime has been named to the Real Power 50 list by Minnesota Business Magazine, a woman on the way, and Innovation in Finance Business Owner of the Year, and so much more. This young, inspiring businesswoman will share with us what's new in the speaking world, what decision makers are expecting post-pandemic, and what GMID means to the speaking community, something that you are not going to want to miss. So we'll be right back. Your preferred health insurance provider for the hospitality industry, efficienthealthsolutions.com. Well, here we are now with Miss Jaime Nolan. Hi.
Hi, good morning, Deborah.
Nice to see you, and so glad you were joining us to talk about the speaking community today, which is a big, I'm saying huge part of the meetings industry and has a lot to do with GMID Day as well. But first, now, National Speakers Association headquarters, I believe, is in Tempe, Arizona, in my neck of the desert, but you're in Minnesota. So which is it? Minnesota, Arizona, which is it?
Well, as you know, the pandemic really allowed organizations to expand their search for talent beyond where their home base is. And so while our address is in Arizona, we actually have staff in Minneapolis, Chicago, Austin, as well as Phoenix and Scottsdale. So we have good representation across the country.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know, being new to NSA and our new CEO president as well, I am sure with all the credentials I just read about you, your vision, your role, and the direction where you want to take this this organization, this association, must be really exciting for you. Can you share with us what that looks like?
Absolutely. I have been in the meetings industry my entire career. I started straight out of college working for an association as a meeting planner, didn't even know what an association was, much less that you could make a living as a meeting planner. So I spent my entire career there. I owned an association management company and then sold it a couple of years ago. So when this opportunity came up to work with the National Speakers Association, came up a few months ago, and kind of at what I hope is the end of this pandemic as we're moving into the endemic stage. It's such a phenomenal opportunity. I'm so excited because we all know that meetings were affected so much through the pandemic, and organizations learning to create virtual events and hybrid events, and speakers having to learn how to go from main stage to a virtual room and how to keep the engagement of the online attendees. And now speakers are in places where they're on stage speaking to both a live audience and a virtual audience at the same time. And so I am excited about this opportunity in terms of how can we continue to support the meetings industry, support speakers, and really elevate what we're doing and making it even better.
That's great, because when speakers get to serve their customers, their clients in the meetings industry, conferences and conventions are just getting better and better. And I see there's nobody better than helping do that. And your role is you. So thank you for looking beyond just the meetings industry, but coming onto the speaker side.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, no. And you're right. The industry did get hit. I mean, we were a $1 trillion industry that really had a lot to do with the U.S. economy, but yet we got hit just as much as all the meetings that got canceled or postponed. I mean, it's been really actually devastating. I know it has been for my business, and there's so many speakers around the world that were jet setting. We were just on a high. It was like a 20-month high of just living the dream in the speaking industry. And then boom, all of a sudden, the pandemic hit us. So can you tell us what happened to the speaking industry? What happened to speakers during that time? And what is happening today?
Right. Yes. Well, as you can imagine, much like many meeting planners and associations, so many things got shut down overnight, really unprecedented, things that nobody have experienced in our lifetime. There's been SARS and things like that, but nothing to the impact that COVID had. And a lot of speakers, many of them were able to identify how to shift to doing the virtual online speaking. And I think a lot of the speakers were learning together along with the meeting planners. A number of other speakers realized that putting all their eggs in just the main stage speaking basket was probably not a good idea for a long-term future. And so many of them started looking at how to develop podcasts, how to write books, how to create online learning content and digital courses. And so this became a great opportunity for many speakers to really expand their business and grow a more robust business that's still allowing them to do what they love speaking, but making that intellectual property that they've got really more sellable as an organization. So I think that, like with any business, we've seen some businesses, some speakers were hit really hard and, really had to find other means of revenue during that time. And other speakers were able to identify ways that they could really build their business and take advantage of what happened. Right. Today, we're seeing a lot of speakers talking in person again, a lot of hybrid events. There was that small blip in January, February, where some of our members were finding that their events were either getting canceled or moving to all virtual again. But I think we had that sharp dip in February and everything is back on the table. And in fact, all the mandates are being removed, mask mandates, testing mandates.
Right.
Dare I say we've hit herd immunity? I'm not sure, but it seems like we're in the endemic phase.
Right. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And I think it definitely was a crash course for, the meetings industry and the speakers along. But the thing is, no matter what situation you were in during this, we weren't alone. Everybody got hit, personally and professionally. So not that makes anything feel more fuzzy or warm, but the fact is we were leaning on each other. The speakers were calling each other, talking to each other. How do you set up the lighting for your office and bouncing off ideas? So the whole crisis actually turned into a gift, an opportunity to expand. And not only the meeting side, but the speaker side as well.
It's one of the great values of an organization like NSA or MPI or PCMA or any organization where you are connected with other people that do the same thing that you do. You can really lean on each other, support each other, and a rising tide raises all ships. And I've just heard amazing stories about speakers who reached out to other members during this time, and they really got together on a weekly basis in some cases to talk about, okay, what are we doing this week? How are we going to find business? How are we going to support our clients? How are we going to do the Zoom meetings? And those members that really leaned on each other really excelled throughout the pandemic. And I'm sure that's true of members of all these other organizations that are part of GMID. So
yeah, very true, very true. So now that there's about 78% of the meeting and event professionals are out there, trying to find site selections. And I know venues can be very tough because everybody wants it right now. And they might even have to do some multi-contracting because they want to hang on to it for the following year. That's going to probably happen. So I see that as a challenge, but yet at the same time, a trend that's going on right now.
Yes.
To get those postponed programs back on the books, getting new conferences and conventions out there, because people are so anxious to get back to seeing each other in person, which is going to make it explode.
Right.
So I call it meeting revenge, because it's just going to be just coming at us. So we know it's coming. So speakers really need to be prepared for that. Do you see any other trends? Are there emerging speakers coming into to our community? What other trends do you see?
Yeah, I would say I agree with everything that you said, Deborah, because even with NSA looking at our annual conferences, the hotels are looking for multi-year contracts to make up for some of that lost business. Totally understandable. I think that, what we're seeing for requests, or what a lot of speakers are talking about, I mean, leadership is always a key topic, right? Leading through difficult times, leading through crisis, leading through innovation is always big. Technology, how technology has changed. Could you imagine working at Zoom on February 15th of 2020, and then what happened between February of 2020 and February 2021? There's so much technology that launched, and so we've got keynote speakers that focus on technology and all the new tools and resources that are out there. Always a popular topic is the generational changes and what's going on there. But really what's important for meeting planners is, when you're looking for a speaker, understanding what do you want your audience to feel? What do you want them to take away from it? And then making sure you're communicating that to the speaker. Speakers don't like to do just sort of the canned templated presentations. While their presentations may, have the similar points and similar content, they want to make sure they're connecting with your attendees. And so what's important to your attendees in the room? I've heard so many stories from our members about how they showed up in an event thinking they were going to talk about one thing. And then, in fact, in one case, I had a member tell me she showed up thinking she was going to talk about one topic. And when she got there, she was told that it was a corporate organization, that all their employees had just been told all the leadership team had been fired. And so she ended up getting up there and completely changing her whole platform to lead that group through almost like a crisis management moment. How are you feeling? This is okay. This is what you're going to do. And so, working with speakers and having them understand truly what is it that your attendees are going through in the moment. And that may change as you lead up to the event. So I think those are really important.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, a very good example. I remember a speaker getting up on stage, and they told some kind of dead joke of some sort, and the audience didn't react because apparently somebody on their board just died like a few days before the conference. But then the speaker wasn't told, so their joke or whatever, their piece of humor
did not
go well because of that. So communication, it comes down to communication, right?
Yes. Yep. And I think communication and having mutual expectations. What does the meeting planner want? How can the speaker best connect with the audience? Because the speaker wants to do a good job for the meeting planner and for the audience, and the meeting planner wants to speak. Right. And so working together on that is important.
Right. So it's a partnership. It's a team effort.
Right.
That really has to happen. Because like you said, the reputation of the other is not going to be very well, if not both, if it's not done right or to the best of the ability of both parties. And communication has a lot to do with that. It really does. And you were mentioning about technology, technology changing so much. I mean, hybrid's going to be around for a long time, but at the same time, it's not, because there's going to be something else that's going to come to take that place. That's going to be bigger and better and easier to, user-friendly maneuver type of effect. But with the hybrid that has been introduced to the speaking community, which is fairly new compared to the meeting side of it that we've been dealing with, that now they've had to adjust how not only their delivery is, or their PowerPoint slides look like, as opposed to in person, but also a touchy subject, their fees had to be different as well. How have speakers and meeting professionals been partnering on trying to figure that part out?
That's a great question. And I haven't
It's a
heard a
tough
lot
one.
of discussion around that. Yeah, I mean, what I've heard for sure is that whether you're giving an in-person keynote or a virtual keynote, the prep is the same, right? You still have to put in the same amount of work. You have to understand the
Right.
audience. You need to know what the meeting outcomes are. If you're doing a hybrid event, the speaker needs to know how they can engage the virtual audience in addition to the current audience. And so I think that there was a myth that, oh, they're doing virtual, so the fees are going to be less. Well, the only thing that is probably going to be less is that there's no travel expenses.
Right.
And you have hybrid, you still have the travel expenses, and you've got the added, the speaker needs to know how to engage both audiences. And
Right.
so
Right.
I can't speak to what those fees are. I just know that those are the considerations for meeting planners to be thinking about.
Right, exactly. Just like we, or speakers need to understand what meeting and event professionals go through and what their deals are.
Yes.
It's vice versa at the same time,
Yes.
understanding each other. And I think that there's not enough opportunity for meeting and event professionals to really get to know the speaker side of things. And I think there needs to be more attention to that, because speakers seem to be the last decision of a conference or convention.
Right.
Do you have any advice for meeting and event professionals to say, hey, look, your education is this important to you, then you need to get the speaker on board early enough so that you can, bring them on as an extension to your team if you have to, because speakers are out there, they experience so much, they can bring so much to the table back to you.
Yes.
But yet meeting and event professionals don't see that value. How can they?
Oh my gosh. Deborah, I'm so glad you brought this up, because this is so important. Let the speakers be a sounding board for you. Tap into them for ideas. They have spoken at so many conferences and so many events and have seen so many creative things. And so they can bring to the table some ideas. If you sit down with them and say, here's our goal, here's what we're trying to achieve, your speaker may have some great ideas. They may even have tips about other speakers you want to bring in at your event.
Right.
But also educating them well in advance of the conference of what the purpose of the conference is, who the attendees are, what you want the takeaways to be. They can also help with promotional items, right? Have them record a 30-second video that they can send out, that you can send out to your attendees to gain some energy and excitement and build up for your event. So speakers are really a great partner and can help a lot with ensuring that you have a fantastic event.
Right. And there's so many great speakers in National Speakers Association, and they do such a great job of trying to educate the meeting and event professionals, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating to know that the meeting side of the industry does not embrace the speakers like they need to from the beginning and not think of them as an afterthought. And I'm hoping those viewers that are watching this right now will really take a closer look at how this can be a huge benefit, huge benefit to your planning. And once it does, you'll be hooked, and you'll make sure that you're part of the speaking community, and the speaking community is part of the meetings industry. We need to be one big, huge team. So totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. Well, and I know that GMID is a huge day, Global Meetings Industry Day, and it represents the entire meetings industry, which includes, transportation, trade shows, incentive travel, and the speakers as well. And as the world emerges into even more challenges, this GMID continues to be a reinforcement of the value of meetings and events. And yet at the same time, I don't know if the speaking community on the flip side here knows about GMID and understands that value, and yet know how to celebrate it with their clients and take advantage of that this day to pick up the phone and call your client and say, hey, happy GMID day, and they'll take your call because of it. So how do we get the speaking industry to be on board with something like this, be involved with, when we get back to in person, be on the panels, or let their clients know that, hey, I'll come into your company and help you to connect. So how can speakers celebrate this day and understand it more?
Well, I'll tell you what, Deborah, that is such an awesome question and a huge step as you inviting me to be on this podcast, because this is a great step to letting our members know about GMID. And also, I saw that GMID has a whole toolkit of messages and social media marketing and things that our members can send out to all their clients. And so we will be sharing that with all of our members. And I think that this is just any opportunity that speakers have to reach out to their clients is a good opportunity. And this is another one of those very specific good opportunities where they're not asking for anything. They're just connecting with their clients and saying, happy GMI day.
Yes, absolutely. And that makes a huge, huge difference to their marketing, their promotional, and the clients, the potential clients would appreciate that as well, because it's all about speaking each other's lingo. You know, that's once you understand each other's lingo, it really helps with that connection.
Yes.
And I can't express it enough for those, especially speakers in National Speakers Association, to do so. And that's the value and the benefit of belonging to NSA, is to know things like this as well. And so I'm just pleased to have you on the show to represent the National Speakers Association as well. Is there anything that you'd like to add or send out a message utilizing this platform to both sides of the community? Since you've been on both sides?
Yeah. So first of all the meeting planners out there, oh my gosh, you are my heroes. Thank you for all that you have done. I know that you have had to do work that you've never done before. Many of you lost your jobs. Hopefully many of you have found new positions. Many of you were able to keep positions, but really had to completely reinvent what your conferences looked like. So thank you so much for that. And we've talked to a lot of speakers who have been working with meeting planners that have maybe used to have a staff of 10 and now have a staff of 3 to put on a conference. And even our hotels and our venues and our AV teams, they're working with much less staff. And so our speakers have been having good chatter in our community about how can we support them and remember that they are working to do the same amount of work with less amount of staff.
Right.
And so everybody just supporting each other and being patient with one another is critical. And just thank you so much to all of you who are doing all of this hard work and helping to keep the hotel industry going and the unique venue industry going and the speaker industry growing, entertainment, all of it. One of the biggest things when COVID hit was not only were meetings being canceled, but think about all the local economies that were relying on these conferences coming to their city, all the small businesses and the restaurants. And I mean, it is a ripple effect like we had never seen in our lifetime. And it's just really incredible to be part of the resurgence and everything coming back. And I think everybody coming back with new perspective and working stronger. We worked well together before, and now we're working even better.
Yeah, very well put. That's brilliant and so true. It really did prove our resilience. If we can get through this, we can get through anything. And I'm a big fan of the meetings industry, the big fan of all the speakers in NSA. As a matter of fact, I always have that motto, you know, you're not in the speaking business, you're in the meetings business. And we're one big, huge team here. And I think moving forward, I'm hoping that we look at our roles differently, more openly, more loving, and more of a win-win situation. And I really believe that's what's going to change the whole, industry, because we're all here for one goal and objective, and that is to make sure that those audiences leave with the value and the takeaways, like you mentioned earlier, that they'll want to keep coming back more and more. And that's what keeps our doors open. Yeah, it really does.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We were so excited to have you as the new CEO and president of National Speakers Association. I can't wait to see what is next. If any speakers are out there watching this podcast right now, by all means, go to nationalspeakersassociation.org and look into it, because it is the best organization that, oh gosh, I've made so many great networks, friends, and have learned so much from it, that it is who I am, and it is who a lot of people that want to offer what we do for the meetings industry at the same time. So I know people would probably like to expand this conversation with you, and we do have your contact information available as well. Let me put that up there for you, and it's your email and the website too. Any other ways that people can contact you, Jaime?
That's the best way, for sure. That's the best way.
Good.
I'm on social media, but I don't get on it that often. So if people message me on social media, it might be a week before they hear from me.
Well, you're a busy lady.
Yeah.
You're definitely a busy lady. And I know we'll see you at many other conferences, not just, the speaking side of conferences, but you attend the meeting side. We're talking about PCMA, MPI, SGMP, and all of them as well. And with your credentials of a CAE, there's no doubt you are the perfect person for this role to represent both sides. So that's the beauty of what we do here in this industry. So thank you again for joining us. And
thank you so much.
We'll provide a lot more success for GMID Day.
All right. Thanks so much, Deborah.
Bye-bye.